This is the start of our journey through the midsection of the Washington Backcountry Discovery Route, a beautiful trail running through the mountains of central Washington. The trip was supposed to last 4 days and 3 nights, with no official stopping point. Just how far we could go in that time. The views are absolutely breathtaking. The road was rough, rocks were jagged, and the cliffs were steep. We thoroughly enjoyed our time out on the trail. However, that doesn't mean we didn't have our fair share of problems. And even worse. However, that's for later in the video. Let's start from the beginning. We started our journey Saturday afternoon heading towards Ellensburg, Washington. From there we headed north to Forest Road 35 to Table Mountain. The road was paved for the first several miles, and driving up the switchbacks we started to ascend, giving us a great view of Ellensburg and beyond. We also caught a stunning glimpse of the mountainside. Farther up we encounter a forest of dead trees, and as long as you carry a permit, you can cut firewood down from these trees. Now, coming out of the tree line reveals a great open view from the mountainside. At this point, we are approaching Lion's Rock, near the highest point of the mountain at about 6,000 feet high. The trail progressively gets worse. More snow, more mud, and more ruts. Nothing too bad yet. Clearly there are tracks here, so somebody has been through. It's at this point we see several cars stopped along the road ahead of us, with snow blocking the path forward. As we approach, we can see a Jeep currently getting pulled out of the snow. That's the only way forward. To the left and to the right are dead ends. Unfortunately, that meant we couldn't pass this section. But we still wanted to adventure, so I decided to try one of the dead end paths to our right. It looked like slightly less snow. Maybe I could make it through, but boy was I wrong. At this point we were high centered on the snow, and there was no way of getting out other than digging. So dig we did. About 15 minutes or so went by digging, and a very kind gentleman in a truck came by and offered to pull us out. I definitely took him up on that offer, considering I just broke my glasses and I was extremely wet from digging underneath the truck. That's pretty much it for day one. We backtracked a few miles to find a place to camp and get ready for tomorrow's adventure. We got up bright and early in the morning to head down to the mountain towards Ellensburg. We took Highway 97 north to Cashmere to start the next leg of our journey. From Cashmere, we head north up Chumstick Mountain. We started off again in a forest environment. The road here was notably more rough with more large holes and ruts. We saw some people camping off to the side of the road. ATVs and dirt bikes were also a common sight out here. With the road being so narrow, it was difficult to squeeze by sometimes. Again, as we ascended, we were treated to spectacular views from the mountain. However, instead of being well within the mountain, we were now driving on cliff's edge. At this point, all I can think about is what happens when another car comes by in the opposite direction. Now, with that in mind, we continued our ascent to the top of Chumstick Mountain, and thankfully, no snow to stop our path. At least, not yet. Soon, I see snow show up on the ground. Not a lot, not enough to cause any kind of worry that we won't be able to make it. Keep in mind, we're so close to the top of the mountain, so I'm thinking this is about as bad as it's gonna get. However, there was one spot that seemed like it was the gatekeeper to the other side. At just about the highest point of the mountain, there was a mound of snow that wasn't very long, maybe about 25 feet or so, but it was high, and there was a risk of getting stuck. With that being said, I've already had to turn back down one mountain in defeat of snow. I do not want that to happen again. So I check out the patch of snow, and I decide to do it. full throttle, forward, no stopping. Success. I wish I could just leave our troubles with snow there since we started to descend the mountain. But nature has other plans for us. We have to navigate more perilous snowpacks as we descend. Snow to our left, cliff to our right.
This is about as far as I've seen this. Beyond this, I don't know.
With the successful navigation of snow, we were able to descend the mountain without any further issue. Chumstick Mountain complete. With more than half a day still ahead of us, we decided to move on to the next leg of our journey. Heading down the mountain to Ardenvoir, we can take the paved road to Forest Road 8410 to Mackenzie Ridge and eventually Chelan Mountain. This road was even more rough than the two previous. The rocks were extremely jagged. I took it very slow because of the bumps and risk of puncturing my tires. You could see the switchbacks carved into the mountains as we climbed. Again, the views from up here were amazing as always. We even went off trail a little bit to find an amazing lookout point and a great potential camp spot, even though the time was only about 5 p.m. We had been driving most of the day and considered setting up camp early since we found such a nice spot, but we decided to press on and find camp somewhere further up the mountain, so onward we went. However, at the time we didn't have any idea what was in store for us. Just about a mile or so up the mountain we came across some more snow. At this point I'm feeling more and more confident in my abilities to traverse the snow. With that being said, I knew something was different about this pack of snow. I decided to get out and check it out before attempting it, and thank God I did.
So, if we had followed that path, because there's nothing on the left side. So if I had put my left wheel on that path, we would have gone way too far over. So here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna reverse, because it's not that deep. I'm pretty sure we can make it through. So I'm gonna reverse, I'm gonna chain up.
Okay.
And then we're gonna create a new path.
Okay. Because you don't want to go off the
No.
ledge there?
I definitely do not.
So at this point I decided to play it safe. Chain up and make our own path. So we spent a solid 20 or so minutes digging out the snow to create our own path. far enough away from the edge so I don't fall off, but also we're digging out the center so we don't high center. Now keep in mind, the snow to the left of the screen gets progressively higher, so at times we're digging about 20 inches of snow. Finally, we get to a point where I feel comfortable taking on this challenge. Chains on my tires, we cleared a path for both wheels, flattened out the top so we don't high center. All that's left to do is to try it. Right there. It's hard to tell, but this is the first time my back wheel starts to slide right towards the cliff. As you can see here, I attempt to drive forwards and backwards in an attempt to get out of the situation. Again, I keep moving in an attempt to get out of the situation. But again, my wheel slips farther and farther towards the cliff. You can see that the angle of my truck is now extremely angled with my back wheels towards the cliff and my front wheels towards the uphill slope. At this point, my right rear is literally an inch away from the edge of the cliff, and I don't have a whole lot more footage from this incident because we were so focused on getting out of this situation. I was so close to the edge that I couldn't access the right side of my truck because every time I would go there, I would erode the soil and risk the truck losing its footing. With no trees to tie off to, every single inch I moved the truck. I would follow up by getting out and assessing the situation. Using traction boards, chains, and shovels, we tried every trick in the book to get us out. I was also preparing myself for the possibility of going overboard. My GoPro ran out of battery and I wanted to record it, so I took the secondary camera and placed it down next to me. This was such a high stress situation. It was cold, bugs were swarming us, but we eventually dug ourselves out. It was about 5:30 p.m. when we got in that mess, and about 8:30 p.m. when we got unstuck. About 3 hours of digging snow and moving the truck, inch by inch. But we successfully made it out. After this happened, I felt so defeated, so tired, and so sad. All I wanted to do was head home, and in the heat of the moment, I told Sabrina that I was taking us home, and I headed back down the mountain. With the sun already setting beyond the mountain, I came to my senses and realized we were never going to make it down the mountain safely in the dark, let alone the 4-hour journey back home. Keep in mind, it's already about 8:30, close to 9 o'clock. So we ended up setting up camp at a previously scouted spot. The trip back down was quiet, full of emotion, but we were safe. In the end, the trip that was supposed to last 4 days and 3 nights only lasted 3 days and 2 nights. With the truck almost falling off a cliff and the possibility of me going with it, our spirits were down and we headed home.